Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the dais and the presentation of our nation's colors.
Hey. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the mayor, the police commissioner, members of the NYPD, we welcome you to the headquarters of the greatest police department in the world. And we're delighted you can spend part of your morning here with us as we swear in our 43rd police commissioner and our 39th chief of department in the history of the NYPD. Would everyone please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem by Police Officer Makia Brown.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the Rockies free gleamed, the bombs bursting near, keep proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave
And thank you so much, Officer Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for our invocation by His Eminence, Timothy Cardinal Dolan, the Archbishop of New York.
Let us pray. God is our refuge and our strength, a present help in trouble. Praise the psalmist. Therefore we shall not fear, even though the earth might tremble. On this day of commitment and beginning, your blessing, please, dear Lord, upon our new Police Commissioner, James P. O'Neill, and our Chief of Department, Carlos M. Gomez. You constantly reassure us, dear Lord, be not afraid. We can be at peace because of your protection, dear God, a protection exercised through the selfless vigilance of the New York Police Department. They indeed are part of your strong right arm, ever protecting us. God is in the midst of his city, continues the psalmist. The Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob in our midst, our refuge. So be with our new commissioner and our new chief. Might they continue the hard work and progress of Commissioner Kelly and Commissioner Bratton. Be their refuge in time of trial and danger, like now. You never call us to a duty without supplying the grace we need to do it. And that's our prayer this morning. You are God forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Cardinal Dolan. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It's indeed my pleasure to introduce members of the dais assembled with us here this morning. I would ask that you please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Seated on my right and in the first row, the Chief of Staff, Kevin Ward, Chief of Department, Carlos Gomez, the Police Commissioner of the City of New York, the Honorable James P. O'Neill, the First Lady of the City of New York, Ms. Charlene McRae, the Mayor of the City of New York, the Honorable Bill de Blasio, First Deputy Police Commissioner Ben Tucker, Speaker of the New York City Council, the Honorable Melissa Mark Beverito, New York City Public Advocate, the Honorable Letitia James, New York City Controller, the Honorable Scott Stringer, Deputy Commissioner for Administration, Kathy Perez. Seated in our second row, the Executive Officer of the Chief of Department, Assistant Chief Terrence Monahan, Chief of Transportation Bureau, Thomas Chan, Chief of Transit Bureau, Joseph Fox, Chief of Community Affairs Bureau, Joanne Jaffe, Chief of Personnel Bureau, Raymond Spinella, the Archbishop of New York, His Eminence Timothy Cardinal Dolan, Police Department Deputy Chief Chaplain Monsignor Robert J. Romano, Police Department Chief Chaplain Rabbi Dr. Alvin Cass, Imam of the Islamic Cultural Center of the Bronx, Abdullah Bajaha, New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, Deputy Commissioner for Equal Employment Opportunity Nelda Ziegler, Deputy Commissioner for Labor Relations John Byrne. Seated in our third row, the Supervising Chief Surgeon Dr. Eli Kleiman, Chief of Detectives Robert Boyce, Chief of Housing Bureau James Secreto, Chief of Manhattan South William Morris, Chief of Citywide Operations Thomas P. Patel, Chief of Intelligence Thomas Galati, Chief of Counterterrorism James Waters, Deputy Commissioner for Collaborative Policing Susan Herman, Deputy Commissioner Strategic Initiatives Zach Tuman, Deputy Commissioner for Management and Budget Vincent Grippo, Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence and Counterterrorism John Miller, Deputy Commissioner Information Technology Jessica Tisch, Deputy Commissioner for Operations Dermot Shea, Deputy Commissioner for Internal Affairs Bureau Joseph Resnick. Seated in our fourth row, the Commanding Officer, Patrol Bureau Queens North, Assistant Chief Diana Pizzuti, Commanding Officer, Patrol Bureau Staten Island, Assistant Chief Edward Delatorre, Commanding Officer, Patrol Bureau Queens South, Assistant Chief David Barrere, Commanding Officer, Patrol Bureau Bronx, Assistant Chief Larry Nakunin, Commanding Officer, Patrol Bureau Manhattan North, Assistant Chief Kathleen O'Reilly, Commanding Officer, Patrol Bureau Brooklyn South, Assistant Chief Stephen Powers, Commanding Officer, Special Operations Division, Assistant Chief Harry Whedon, the Commanding Officer, Patrol Bureau Brooklyn North, Assistant Chief Jeffrey Madry, the Commanding Officer of the School Safety Division, Assistant Chief Brian Conroy, Deputy Commissioner Department Advocate Kevin S. Richardson, Deputy Commissioner for Trials Rosemary Maldonado, the Deputy Commissioner for Legal Matters Lawrence Byrne, Deputy Commissioner for Support Services Bureau, Robert Martinez. Deputy Commissioner for Training, Tracy Kazee. Deputy Commissioner Strategic Communications, Bill Andrews. And Counsel to the Police Commissioner, Edward Wells Handy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our day. We thank you for being here. It's indeed my pleasure to introduce the First Lady of the City of New York, Ms. Charlene McRae.
Thank you, Lieutenant Giorgio. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am pleased to share my praise for a man I have come to know and admire, Commissioner James P. O'Neill. His outstanding work over these last days has shown the world what so many people in this room already know. Jimmy is more than ready to lead the finest police department in the world. He's been preparing for this opportunity for more than 3 decades. In the time-honored way, our new commissioner has worked his way up the ranks one rung at a time, earning the respect of his fellow officers with every step. But Jimmy is not just a cop's cop. He is also a New Yorker's New Yorker. A lifetime of experience has taught Jimmy that most people are looking for the same basic things in life. We want respect. We want to make a difference. And at the end of the day, we all want to return home to our families, safe and sound. That's what our officers want, and that's what the people they serve want. Jimmy has already begun bringing people, our officers and civilians, closer together so we can achieve common goals. And it's called neighborhood policing. And when I hear Jimmy talk about it, when I hear him describe a city where community residents know their local cops by name and consider them partners, it's obvious how deep his understanding and commitment to this vision is. He believes in it because it's the right thing to do, and also because he knows that it will make our city safer. It's the same with diversity. When it comes to bringing women and men of all ethnicities into the NYPD, I know it's not just lip service, because I have seen with my own eyes the company he keeps, the talent he nurtures, and the people he promotes. And Jimmy's son put it perfectly when he described his dad as a chronic do-gooder. He's the type of person who instinctively puts others before himself. I am proud to count Jimmy as an ally and a friend, and I know he will give his all to the city that he loves. And he will have a tremendous partner in our new Chief of Department, Carlos Gomez, who is blazing new ground as the very first Latino to serve as New York's highest uniform officer. I join the people of New York in congratulating Commissioner O'Neill and Chief Gomez on their well-deserved promotions. No one is better qualified to lead the NYPD to even higher heights. And it is now my pleasure to introduce someone who shares my deep admiration for these remarkable public servants, Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Thank you very much, Charlene. Thank you for being a part of this ceremony. This is one of the ceremonies we cherish. As a department that has done so much, that has achieved so much, recognizes the next generation of leadership and embraces the future. It's a very special time. It's a time of celebration and renewal. But at the same time, today we find ourselves in a very sober moment. And I want to recognize the fact that I legally swore in Jimmy O'Neill on Friday. His first full day began Saturday morning. He woke up as police commissioner of New York City, and by that evening was facing adversity. And it was so clear to the people of this city and to the men and women of the NYPD why Jimmy O'Neill was ready to lead us all, because he handled the crisis on Saturday evening the way we knew he would. Calm, cool, collected, a leader, someone people looked to and trusted. That's what we saw on Saturday evening. That's what we've seen in the days since. That's what we will see in the years to come. We also saw the finest police force in the world in action. And I talked to so many residents in Chelsea, so many people live and work there. They said to me what my fellow mayors have said who have called in from around the country. They all speak with such respect for the men and women of the NYPD and all of our first responders. The way in this town, people know what to do instantly. They know exactly what it takes to keep people safe. The professionalism, the courage. That's what people in the neighborhood saw, and it gave them solace and it gave them comfort. That's what people all over the country, all over the world see. And it makes us proud as New Yorkers. That was in evidence Saturday night. It's been in evidence since. It's who we are as New Yorkers, strong and resilient. It's who this department is. Always ready, always able to take on a challenge, no matter how unexpected. Now, Jimmy, when you woke up Saturday morning, you did not know what would confront you. And you and I have talked about this. No one said this job would be easy. But I want to say on behalf of 8.5 million New Yorkers, we are so thankful that you have taken on the leadership of the NYPD. And you showed on your very first day what you were made of. Let's congratulate Jimmy O'Neill. And at his side, every step of the way over these last years and for years to come, let's congratulate Chief Carlos Gomez. And again, it's a day to celebrate new leadership. But let's remember what we learned on Saturday, as we learn every day. Our warmest, deepest, strongest round of applause and congratulations are for the men and women of the NYPD. I want to thank all those who joined us for this wonderful ceremony. I want to thank Jimmy and Carlos's families that mean so much to them and are their strength. I want to say, Cardinal, your presence makes this an even more important occasion for all of us, and we thank you deeply. I want to thank all of the leadership of the NYPD, First Deputy Commissioner Ben Tucker, and all of the leaders who are present here today. All the labor leaders who have joined us, we thank you. We are particularly honored as we celebrate the success of the last almost quarter century in this city. Everyone in this room has contributed to that success in making this a safer city. And we have in this room all of that history before our very eyes. So let's thank for his presence and his service Commissioner Ray Kelly. And let's thank two people who really have always been a team. Ricky Kleeman, we include you in that team because you've always been at his side. Let's thank Commissioner Bill Bratton for all he has done for this city. We thank all the elected leaders who are here. I want to start by acknowledging a former leader And I want to thank him because both Bill Bratton and Ray Kelly came into leadership in this town during his mayoralty. Thank you, Mayor David Dinkins, for your presence. And we are honored to have our Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman, our Speaker, Melissa Mark Viverito, Public Advocate Tish James, Comptroller Scott Stringer. Thank you to the DAs who are with us, the borough presidents, the council members, everyone joined together, because this is a day that we look forward to a bright future together. I have a particular honor. One part of this job that is a real blessing is being able to speak at an NYPD graduation. And it's a day filled with hope and promise. And I've seen the misty look sitting up there on that dais, the misty look in Bill Bratton's eyes or Jimmy O'Neill's eyes, and thinking about all they experienced and looking at a new generation. Well, today, there's some of that same special feeling. And when I speak to our new officers, one of the things I want to tell them most enthusiastically, simple statement: you're joining a winning team. You're joining a winning team that for now, again, almost a quarter century has made this city consistently safer. When we say we're the safest big city in America, that has been proven and ratified over and over. And every new officer contributes to that tradition. Well, I had to think about who could lead that winning team, who could be the ultimate coach of a championship team. And a couple of things were obvious to me. I wanted someone who had walked the beat, who understood the lives of our cops and everything that they faced. I wanted someone who had led our officers in any number of situations and understood the dynamics that all the leaders of the NYPD have to recognize. I wanted someone who understood our neighborhoods to the core, who felt the realities of the people of this city, who loved our city and all the communities that make it up. And I wanted one more thing, and this is a tricky part of the equation. I wanted a visionary. I wanted someone who could take the extraordinary vision of Bill Bratton and take it even farther. A very tall order. Some people said, oh, we have to search the whole nation. I knew we didn't need to, because lucky for me, we had a real cop, a guy who had walked the beat, a guy who had commanded the men and women of the NYPD, a guy who understood and loved the people of the city, and a visionary all rolled into one. He was right here in this building, and his name is Jimmy O'Neill. Born and bred in Flatbush, Brooklyn. Doesn't get more New York than that. Joined the NYPD nearly 34 years ago as a transit officer. Rose through the ranks, commanding precincts. He worked on narcotics enforcement, trained cadets. Ultimately became the #1 uniformed officer in this department. But that wasn't enough. He had a vision. He had a vision for something that we've tried in many ways but had not yet reached. Jimmy believed that this vision could be achieved, and that is also the mark of a leader, to take us somewhere we have not yet been. And he painstakingly constructed his vision for neighborhood policing. And he has built it and built it and built it. And when you talk to our officers who are part of this initiative, when you talk to community members, you hear an energy, an excitement, a sense of possibility that is truly inspiring. Jimmy O'Neill is the architect of neighborhood policing, and he is going to bring us a new approach in this city that will draw police and communities closer than they have ever been. That is a tall order, but he is the right man for the job. Now, as we do that, we will continue to make this city safer. We will continue to make our officers safer. That true partnership between police and community means safety for all. everyone in this together. I want all of our officers to know that Commissioner Jimmy O'Neill will support you. He will ensure you have the training, the equipment, the technology that you need. He will have your back every step of the way because he has literally walked in your shoes. And I like the idea that for any hard-working officer with a dream, anyone who hopes that one day they could rise up through the ranks, they're now going to look at a commissioner and a chief of department who started the same exact way they did, walking that beat, stayed with the department, gave their talents and energies, and went all the way to the top. What's more inspiring than that? Anyone can make it. And I have to say, if you want another great New York story, let me tell you about Carlos Gomez of Jackson Heights, Queens, proud son. A classic New York story, son of hardworking immigrants, grew up in Jackson Heights, had a dream for himself, and worked and worked and worked for 33 years, worked his way up, won the respect of all around him. Also, a man with deep vision, a man who understands how to construct the changes that we need. And I have to tell you, being a trailblazer is an amazing thing. And what you quickly learn about Carlos Gomez is he brings all of the talent, the drive, the vision. And he has achieved history simultaneously. He sends a message to people of all backgrounds that this is an NYPD for everyone. And I know for millions of Latino New Yorkers, it is a day of special pride to have the first Latino as Chief of Department of the NYPD. This department serves every community, looks like every community, is the vanguard of making this city a more inclusive and unified place. It is an exciting day, and now, as they say, the best is yet to come. I will now, with great pride, with great satisfaction, and with great confidence, administer the oath of office to these two good men. And I'd like Jimmy O'Neill to come forward first. Make sure people can hear it. Jimmy, I am honored to place the safety of the greatest city in the world in the hands of a great police leader and an even better human being. Please repeat after me. I do hereby pledge and declare
I do hereby pledge and declare
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to faithfully discharge my duties
and to faithfully discharge my duties
as Police Commissioner of the City of New York
as Police Commissioner of the City of New York
to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my abilities,
So help me God.
so help me God.
You did it. You did it. Ready? Get it back. Go get it. Go get it.
It is indeed my pleasure to introduce the Police Commissioner of the City of New York, the Honorable James P. O'Neill. How was that?
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start on a not-so-serious note. So some things in life never change. So I'm sitting here up on the stage, about to get sworn in as police commissioner of the city of New York. Mayor de Blasio saying all sorts of nice things about me, and my brothers and sisters are making fun of me. Thank you, John. Thank you, Liz. Thank you. Thank you very much. My sons were nice to me today, but that'll start later on, I'm sure. Just before I start, I just want to talk about the last couple of days, and started on Thursday when Commissioner Bratton, who I owe so much to, and I decided we were going to take a ride on the subway last night. I was going to end it the way I started it, as doing train patrol. And before we got up there, had an incident in Midtown South. It started on 31st and Broadway, ended up on 32nd between 7th and 6th. And this is a story that's doesn't infrequently happen in New York City. We have a guy with a meat cleaver, just an absolutely dangerous weapon. He's looking to cut the boot off of his car. We have two uniformed cops come up in a car. They go to lock him up, and he runs away. And as he's running, we have video of this, he's swinging the meat cleaver wildly. And we have an off-duty detective walking down 32nd Street, walking to go home to his family, to his wife and his young kids, Brian O'Donnell. And he makes a decision that so many police officers make every day, that he's going to do something good and do something right. And he tackles this guy. We end up arresting him. We did end up shooting him. But Brian displayed such courage that these are the stories that everybody in the city needs to know. He didn't have to intervene. He was under no obligation to intervene in this. But he saw that his fellow officers and fellow New Yorkers and everybody who knows New York City knows 32nd Street going to Penn Station on a Thursday night is just teeming with people. And he decided to take action. So, Brian, I commend you for that. And I hope you heal quickly and swiftly, and God bless your family. And then, as Mayor de Blasio said, Saturday morning I woke up. I'm the police commissioner of the city of New York. Come into the building, going to move all my stuff from the 13th floor up to the 14th floor. Go to drive home, and I get that phone call from Sergeant Danny Shelley. And came back as soon as I could. We went up to the scene. And again, once again, you see the bravery, the courage. The reason why people become cops was displayed that night. The work that they did, it's just absolutely tremendous. And it's not just the NYPD cops. It was the state troopers that found the second device. It was the Port Authority police officers. It was ATF. It was FBI. Every agency that showed up. They showed up because they care about the city and they care about humanity. And again, that's the story I'm going to tell as the police commissioner of this city. We all became cops. We all joined law enforcement to do good and to do right. And I think that's what everybody in this city, that's what everybody in this state, that's what everybody in this nation needs to understand. We did this because we want to do good. Nobody on this job is ever going to get rich. And we do it because we love what we do and we love the people of this great nation. So. Thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for the confidence you have in me, for allowing the men and women of the New York City Police Department to do what they do best, and that's be effective crime fighters. That's what we get paid to do. Never in my wildest imagination did I think I'd be standing here making this speech today as police commissioner. I spoke to my young nieces and nephews last night, and over the course of the 6 weeks since I found out I was going to be police commissioner, so many people have asked me, did you ever have aspirations to become police commissioner? And I said, no, I didn't. I came on this job, I wanted to be a cop, but every rank that I held, I wanted to do my best. And if that brought me further recognition, fine, but I didn't do it to move up the rank. I did it because that's the way I've been taught by my mother to live my life. She was going to speak this morning, but she chickened out at the last minute. Thanks, Ben Tucker. Thanks for staying on. Over the last 2.5 years that I've worked with you, I've come to know what a great man you are, and we're going to do great things for this city. Thank you, Ben. And thanks to every member of the New York City Police Department, of every rank, civilian and sworn, who allowed me, who helped me to get to this point today, because I certainly didn't get here by myself. Thank you to all the community members that are here, the clergy, the electeds, the fraternals, the unions, and to all those who live and work in my old commands who became true friends and guides, and I see some of them in the audience, so thank you for being here today. When it comes to policing, I can't think of a more rewarding cause to dedicate one's life to. And that's what everybody in this room who's wearing a uniform right now, who has ever worn a uniform, did at one point in their lives. They made a conscious decision to dedicate their lives to something meaningful, to make a difference. We, the police, want to help people, we want to protect people, and sometimes to protect people, we have to take action to stop violence. We trust each other and depend on each other because we know we are motivated by the same thing. Our sense of a common mission to protect the people we serve, to make the neighborhood safe. That's what we do. And to all of you, I say thank you for being my brothers and sisters in this effort. That's the professionalism and camaraderie we witnessed on Saturday night here in Manhattan. We're still investigating every aspect of the incident in Chelsea, and I'm confident we'll soon bring those to justice responsible for that heinous act. Over the past 33 months, I've had the absolute privilege to work closely with Mayor de Blasio and Commissioner Bratton to help shift the nation's largest police department away from a style of policing that had sometimes lost focus on how to best achieve our basic mission, and that's lowering crime, and toward a model that connects better with communities to lower crime even more, and that's our obligation. We have pushed crime down. We did it in remarkable and historic ways. Many of you were here in New York City 25 to 35 years ago. You remember what it was like, what it meant to walk around our neighborhoods, to ride the subways at night. Much has changed since then. Bellwether crimes like murders, robberies, shootings have plummeted to record lows. To see such dramatic, lasting results of our efforts have simply been amazing, especially as other large American cities have seen their own crime rates drop, only to watch them reverse direction. Thousands of lives have been saved. Very real tragedies have been averted. Families have been kept intact. And as the NYPD's chief of department, Dermot and I led our weekly ComStat meetings as we drilled down on crime. The cause and effect, who's involved, why are these crimes happening, and what can we do to prevent them from happening again? Have we taken every step, followed every lead, used every resource to shut down emerging crime patterns and problems? Yet, as we consistently drove crime down over the years and achieved what many said was unachievable, making New York the safest big city in America, we did so sometimes at the expense of vital support and communities we swore to protect. We did so sometimes that inflamed old wounds, especially among people of color. Those wounds run very deep. That's why we work so hard at ComStat in our commands to distinguish those individuals who are a threat from those who are not. It is now our mission to not re-inflict those old wounds and to do all we can to heal them. In my view, our two most important goals are these. Members of every community should feel they are understood by their police and know they are treated fairly. When we have achieved that, the NYPD will have achieved real trust. And we need civilians to view cops through the lens of trust, because frankly, we need their support. Many of us remember what it was like in late 2014, during those tumultuous times with all the demonstrations, when in that time, Detectives Joe Liu and Rafael Ramos were assassinated. It made some of us very angry, but it also hurt us more than any of us can tell. And that doesn't begin to describe the effect on the families of our dead brothers. All these events, all these realities meant that the mission we have worked to carry out has changed in nature and description. The police are only half the equation. We need civilians to view themselves as partners in public safety. Unless we have that connectivity, unless we overcome the barriers of mistrust, we're not going to be able to finish the job we have started. We have one common adversary after all, the people committing the crime and violence of our city. So let me tell you a story about crime. This past Labor Day morning, in the hours before daybreak, a criminal inexplicably shot 22-year-old Tiara Poirier in the head, killing her. Tiara was a grad student at St. John's University. She had studied abroad in Europe. She dreamed of becoming a certified public accountant. So why did a complete stranger point a gun in Tiara's direction as she tried to enjoy the Juve celebration in Brooklyn? Well, there was no reason. Two things are clear, though. First, we arrested the 20-year-old man who pulled the trigger, and he will have to answer to court for that senseless act. And second, some people, primarily young men in many of the neighborhoods that need our help most, don't hesitate to carry and use illegal firearms. Sometimes it's completely innocent bystanders like Tiara who fall victim to this violence, and other times it's our police officers. Every day in the United States, it's a fact we're under fire, literally and figuratively. But let me say this, every time a police officer is killed, our society is shaken. But as cops, our commitment to our ideals never waver, because we know people still call 911, people still call 311, people still flag down police cars, people need our help. We persevere because we must, because that's what we signed up for. That's our obligation, and that's our promise to you. That's my promise to you. First and foremost, we are crime fighters. That's what we get paid to do. But we will never cease the everyday work of taking care of the public. We just need to do it in different ways now. The mayor has provided the NYPD with everything we have asked for, everything we have needed to change our posture and to get on the right course. We have added manpower to our ranks thanks to the mayor and the city council for the first time in more than a decade, and purchased the necessary equipment to make our officers safer and more effective. And it's all been in the name of saving lives and keeping people safe. I can tell you firsthand, there is no other police department on earth that has made more of an investment in keeping the public safe. Here's a story about a cop in a community of all places, the New York City subway system. And that cop was me nearly 34 years ago as a rookie in the transit police department patrolling the subways from 8 at night to 4 in the morning. You learn very quickly how to talk to every type of person imaginable when you're down in the subway in the middle of the night. And you also appreciate the look of relief on people's faces when they see a uniformed cop standing on the same platform or riding in the same subway car. When Commissioner Bratt and I rode the subways on Thursday, we had that same opportunity to meet people. People were very happy to see Commissioner Bratton. I asked some young woman if she felt safe, and she said, "I've never felt safer." It was inspiring to me back then, and I tell young cops every chance I get now, the same holds true. New Yorkers want to see you. They want the police to help them. They're glad we're here. Ultimately, the residents and workers of this great city just want what we want. They want to live in peace. They want to provide for their families, to contribute to society, and to live without fear of becoming a victim. That's all everybody wants. It's so simple to say, and yet this valuable relationship between law enforcement and community can be quite fragile. I learned during my 6.5 years as a precinct commander that the balance can be upset by all sorts of things. This relationship we are working to repair is truly a shared effort, a shared responsibility, much like crime fighting. Our successes as a police department and as a society are won only when we work together. With the help of every New Yorker, the police continue to facilitate all the good that is done daily by law-abiding residents and workers in our neighborhoods, while we strive to eradicate pockets of violence that remain. And Dermot and I see every Thursday morning it's just a small percentage of the population in this city committing the crime and the violence. How can the public help us? We want you to keep calling 311 to report the offenses that affect your quality of life. The loud parties, the graffiti in our neighborhoods, the people using drugs or drinking alcohol in public places. This is what the public has to do, call 311. I think I see Betty Crawford in the audience. She was on the community council up in the 4-4 when I was lucky enough to be the CO. And if I didn't do that, if we didn't take care of quality of life offenses up in the 4-4 from 2002 to 2005, I don't think I would have been a precinct commander very long. Isn't that true, Betty? We want you to keep calling 911 to report crime. We need to hear even more about the illegal guns that are out there. Who is carrying them? Where do they live? The NYPD already does a superb job homing in on a relatively small percentage of people who commit most of the violent crime in our city. But precision policing is a 24-hour-a-day mission. We need your full partnership to keep identifying the gangs and crews that are trying to elicit footholds in our very civil society through drug dealing, through credit card fraud, and through any other means. We are laser focused on using enforcement against those who are actually committing the crimes. And we will continue with relentless follow-up to prevent future incidents. We have to do all of this too while keeping the city safe from the ever-changing peril of terror. And there is no police department in the nation better positioned to fight that head-on than the NYPD. Clearly, New York City remains a top target, obviously by the events over the weekend, by organized groups, by so-called lone wolves, and others. We formed 2 new units, the Critical Response Command and our Strategic Response Group. Always at the ready, these hundreds of officers are among the best trained in the country to respond to any emerging threat. Our counterterrorism and intelligence bureaus, along with patrol services, SOD, transit, are second to none. We saw this in action on Saturday night when our personnel responded quickly and decisively to that blast in Chelsea. And I'd like to thank the 2 cops from the 10th precinct who were a block away when this blast happened. They remained calm. They remained calm. They got on the radio. They called for backup. They systematically shut down streets, escorted people to safety, and secured the 2 crime scenes for our investigators. Thank you, guys. And while every day we focus on these kinds of issues locally and globally, we know that the NYPD has to evolve and find a way forward, a new way forward to meet the needs of every New Yorker. By early 2015, our neighborhood policing program was born. We started out in 4 moderately busy precincts that were experiencing community tensions at opposite ends of the city. We ironed out the logistics of our initiative and expanded it to the most crime-prone commands around the city. By October, the Neighborhood Policing Command will cover more than half of New York City, including every one of our housing commands. Members of the public will now have at their fingertips the names, the email addresses, and increasingly, the cell phone numbers of individual cops who patrol their streets every day. This is not a repackaged version of prior generations' community policing efforts. It's not about shaking hands and kissing babies. It's about fighting crime and keeping the people of the city safe. We have gone to great lengths to redraw the small sectors within each of our precincts so that they represent natural neighborhoods. The same cops now work these small areas every day. As we've evolved, we have recognized that our profession is no longer just about law enforcement. For too long, the department was focused on how many arrests individual cops had made, how many summonses they've written. No longer. In the past 2.5 years, we've stopped thousands fewer people on the street. We've arrested thousands fewer too. And crime continues to go down. Why? Because we're focused now on the quality of our actions, not the quantity. We take enforcement action when appropriate, of course, but we're focused on a problem-solving model at micro level more than ever before. These problems we're fixing together are distinct, particular, and individual. What one person needs help with in the Bronx may not be mirrored in Queens or in Brooklyn. We've redefined what it means to be a New York City cop. We're no longer specialists in one thing or another. We're out there all working together to keep the people of the city safe. No matter how big or small, we want to know what's going on right on your block and what's going wrong. Where should we direct our resources? How can we mend that issue? We know our neighborhood policing program is one way to strengthen the bond that already exists in many places and bridge that divide where it doesn't. And while we're embracing this relationship between police and community, we'll never stop deterring crime and disorder. There's always more to do. And we need to move in tandem with the good people we're sworn to protect and serve. I'm incredibly proud to be a cop, and so are the dedicated men and women of the NYPD who want to keep working for you and with you. Thank you again for allowing me to oversee these extraordinary changes we've already put in motion and to oversee the NYPD's evolution. Now it's possible for us to talk about the idea of a completely safe New York City, but a fully safe city depends on everyone doing what they need to do. With cops and community working together, with our partners in the federal, state, and city governments, we will continue to be a city that bucks the negative trends prevalent elsewhere. A city that embraces its differences and its similarities. A city that keeps thriving. A city that's a model of success for the rest of America and for the world. Let us rededicate ourselves today to that mission each of us took up the day we were sworn to protect the people of this city. Let us stand together to commit one common purpose, to complete that mission of making New York City not only the safest big city in America, but the safest city of any size. on every street, every block, and every neighborhood. No exceptions. Today, let's walk out of this auditorium together, resolved to complete that mission. Thank you very much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Please be seated. For a scripture reading, I'd now like to introduce the Imam of the Islamic Culture Center of the Bronx, Abdullah Ba Jaha.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I start in my prayers first to giving the praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All praise be to God, all praise be to Allah, all praise be to Allah. God is great, Allah is great, Allah is great. Ladies and gentlemen, I start my prayers first with the name of Allah, the Lord of the world. Allah who created everything. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Before I start my prayers, I introduce myself. I am Islamic Imam of Abdullah Ba Jaha from Islamic Cultural Center. I'm speaking for the old names of the Imams in this beautiful city in New York, Imams, especially the name of the African Imam Council in New York City. I thank all of you. First, when I give my thanks and my prayers to our leaders in this beautiful city in New York here, and this security city and peaceful city in New York City. I give my thanks to all of you. First, when I give my thanks to our mayor, and our best mayor and a good mayor, I thank him. And also, I give my thanks to the Chief Gomez. I thank you. I pray for you. And I give my thanks also to the Police Commissioner, James O'Neill. Thanks very much. And I give my thanks also to all the police department in New York City. The great job you're doing for this great city here, in this beautiful city. I pray for you. I thank all of you. And also, I ask God to continue to protect this city. Oh, our Lord, help us, help our leaders to continue to protect this city and to save this city, this beautiful city of New York. Oh, our Lord, we are asking you to continue to help our leaders to support in this beautiful country, in the United States of America. Oh, our Lord, we are asking you to give to us a peaceful and merciful and blessing in this beautiful city of New York City. We are asking you to give into us more peaceful, more blessing, and more guidance in this beautiful city of New York. Without peace, we cannot live in this city or anywhere else in the world over the world. The peace is very important for our life in human being, in our daily life, it's importantly peaceful. We are asking you to give us more peaceful and more blessing and more guidance into the United States of America. So forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, I pray for my prayer in Arabic language. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of my prayers. Thank you very much. May God bless you, all of you. May God continue to protect this city. May God continue to save us. Allahumma ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And thank you so much, Imam Bajaha. We'd be remiss if we didn't recognize some of the past chiefs of the NYPD, as Mayor de Blasio mentioned, of our wonderful, great traditions that we have here. Former Chief of Transportation, James Tuller, former Chief of Patrol, Nicholas Estevillo, former Chief of Department, Joseph Esposito, who currently serves as Commissioner of Emergency Management, and former Police Commissioner Howard Safer. Thank you very much for joining us here today. I reintroduce the Mayor for the administration oath for the Chief of Department. Here you go.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do hereby pledge and declare
I do hereby pledge and declare
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to faithfully discharge my duties
and to faithfully discharge my duties
as Chief of Department of the NYPD
as Chief of Department of the NYPD
to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Chief.
Mr. Mayor? Take your shield. I now introduce the Chief of Department, Chief Carlos Gomez.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It is now appropriate to say good afternoon. First and foremost, I want to thank Mayor de Blasio, Police Commissioner William Bratton, and new Commissioner James O'Neill for choosing me to serve as the 39th Chief of Department. It truly is a great honor. Mayor, thank you for your support and your leadership of this city. And that leadership was demonstrated Saturday night on 23rd Street. It really was. For outgoing Commissioner Bratton, thank you for what you've done for this city and for the members of this department. You've plotted a course that Commissioner O'Neill and I will surely follow. You know, they could say, people say, when you think of Major League Baseball, you think of Babe Ruth. When you think of professional basketball, you think of Michael Jordan. When you think of policing in America, people think of William Bratton. So thank you so much. And Commissioner O'Neill, I thank you for letting me share in this, this special day. I don't think it's ever been done before. It truly is historic. It means a lot for me and all my family members here today. Thank you. In his opening remarks, I heard the mayor define Commissioner O'Neill as a visionary, and that he is, a visionary and someone with foresight. And I'll tell you a story. I go back to, I would say 2008. We were both deputy chiefs at the time. Deputy chiefs are one-star chiefs. We were sitting at a CompStat meeting at the Jack Maple Center, what is now the Jack Maple Center, and I vividly recall Deputy Chief James O'Neill turning to me and say, Carlos, we still have a lot of years left in this department. If we're patient, if we stick around, one day we could lead this department. And boy, was he on point. I'll never forget that day. I'm sure and foresight, what a great attribute for someone who is leading this department to have. What a great attribute for the architect of neighborhood policing to have. Neighborhood policing, which is working right now, it's getting us closer to the communities that we serve. I'm delighted to have many family members here this morning. Some traveled very far to get here. But I need to acknowledge someone special. I wouldn't be standing here today if I did not have a good partner. For the past 29 years, I've had the same partner. And I'm not talking about my patrol partner. I'm talking about my wife, my partner in life, Lisa. She's very understanding of the sacrifices, of the long hours that a police executive must perform. Missing many family events, working weekends. She understood that. Quite often, she pulled double duty, taking our daughters to practices, to parties, and other events. And I say double duty because she tended to our daughters while at the same time enjoying a very successful career in the banking industry. So thank you, Lisa. Glad to see we finally made the front row, and that understanding has to continue tonight. It's a very busy day, and I won't be home for dinner. Throughout my career, I've been fortunate to have many mentors and role models, individuals who've assisted me along this path. Many of them are here today. I see them in the audience. You know who you are. But I must mention a few of them. And it begins with somebody who's sitting right here on the dais. That's Chief Joe Fox from the Transit Bureau. Thank you for having confidence in me back in 1998 when you made me the commanding officer of the 106 Precinct in Ozone Park. That's the first step to getting here. Also, someone who couldn't make it today, but he sent me a nice email last night. That's former Chief of Patrol James Hall, someone who I've worked for over 20 years, 20 of my 32 plus years in this department. I started working for him when I was a new lieutenant, and he was a new captain assigned to the street crime unit. Taught me a lot about leadership, about professionalism, the attributes that one needs to succeed in this job. And I also would like to thank former Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly for back in 2010, he made me the Patrol Borough Bronx commander. One of my most cherished assignments. Not as good as this one, though, but one of my most cherished assignments, one that prepared me and put me on the path to greater responsibility. And speaking of the Bronx, I see a lot of friends from the community dispersed in the crowds. I thank you all for coming, but I noticed that most of the cops, most of my former commanders are standing all the way in the back. We're sitting in the back row of this auditorium, and you have to know about the Bronx cops. They're Some of the most dedicated, the hardest working, certainly the most resilient in this department, but they also tend to be late. And that's why they're in the back. Nothing changes. One of the keys to success is to surround yourself with good people and let them do their job. And from my most recent command at the Patrol Services Bureau, all the way back to my first command in the 106, I was very fortunate to have a hardworking and dedicated staff. Their efforts and contributions are the reason I stand here this afternoon. And by staff, I'm not referring to the staff in my office. I'm referring to the executives, the borough commanders that are seated here behind me, the precinct commanders that are out there, all the way to the officers in those sector cars and the foot posts. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the job gets done. We come up with policies and procedures here as managers, but the execution of those gets accomplished where that rubber meets the road. So I thank everyone, especially those officers out on that foot post. I'm glad many of the friends I've made throughout my stops are here this afternoon. From my days in the 106, I see some individuals. I see friends from my days as the commanding officer of the 90th Precinct in Williamsburg. I see friends I've made in Queens, in housing, and in the Bronx. Your friendship and support were sincere, unconditional, and wavering. We stood together through good times and not so good times. I thank you all. I thank you all for that. Really true partners, and you help bridge the gaps between us and the community. Thank you for being here. It's an honor to become the chief of department. I'm proud to lead the largest and finest police department in this nation. As the highest ranking uniformed member of the service, I'll continue with our efforts to reduce crime, expand our counterterrorism efforts, support our officers, and improve community relations. In the last 2 decades, we've seen a dramatic transformation in New York City, a transformation for the better. On the same streets that were once open-air markets for drugs and prostitutions, you will now find individuals sipping on lattes, enjoying dinner in fine restaurants, and families shopping in bustling neighborhoods. The city is much safer than what it once was. Overall crime, but especially violent crime, has plummeted since its peak in the early 1990s. But one murder, one crime, and one victim is one too many. That's why we're always improving our methods to protect all New Yorkers. For example, we've adopted a new tactic of pinpoint policing, which helps us police in a more precise, more surgical manner, as Commissioner O'Neill alluded to earlier. Using this tactic, our detectives and intelligence officers identify gangs, crews, and the few individuals that are responsible for most of the crime and disorder in this city. We relentlessly follow up, investigate, and collaborate with federal and local prosecutors to bring these individuals to justice. We need and certainly appreciate our law enforcement partners at all levels. Our residents are safer than ever before, and we'll keep that trend going. However, our public safety mission does not end with keeping street crime at an all-time low. Because we live in a post-9/11 world, we constantly need to improve and adapt our counterterrorism program. Before, New York and police departments across the nation spent very little time focusing on counterterrorism and international affairs. After the attacks of September 11th, this department built a world-class counterterrorism operation. We know that the strategic landscape for terrorism is always changing. Terrorists are constantly adapting to new technology and tactics, but so are we, and we remain the leading police department across the country and even the world in fighting this evil. That's why our most advanced units, the Strategic Response Group, the Critical Response Command, and the Emergency Services Unit are constantly receiving top-of-the-line equipment and training. The highly trained officers in these units are equipped with heavy vests, helmets, and long guns. As we saw over the weekend, SRG, CRC, and ESU quickly mobilized to the Chelsea area to the scene of the explosion. These 3 units, along with other department resources and other agencies, fire department was there, the FBI was there, sorry if I missed a few, We acted as a cohesive team, evacuated the area, assisted the injured, and searched for additional explosive devices. Our officers acted quickly and bravely to the explosion, and we owe them our thanks as we, along with our law enforcement partners, relentlessly pursue those responsible for the attack. While SRG, CRC, and ESU can use their training to quickly mobilize to any incident, their presence alone serves as a deterrent to terrorism. We are also committed to increasing the capabilities of all our officers, not just the ones assigned to these specialized units. In the near future, our patrol officers will also receive these helmets and vests, and their vehicles will be outfitted to include ballistic panels and window inserts. By keeping our officers on the forefront of training, technology, and equipment, we're able to better work with the community to reduce crime and fight terrorism. Better training and equipment allows the men and women of this department to be better problem solvers. We're making sure that our new officers who graduate from our police academy have a better handle on what it means to work for and with the people of New York. The Field Training Officer Program pairs newly graduated officers with senior officers who can teach them the ropes and what it really means to be a cop and work for and with the community. Along with the new training comes better technology, which creates unique ways to reduce crime. The officers on the beat are much better equipped than when I first started patrolling the streets of Upper Manhattan late in 1984. All we had back then were our radios and our revolvers. Now, our officers are issued smartphones and tablets, a world of information at their fingertips. On the streets, in real time, they can quickly ascertain if a suspect has a warrant, run the history of an address before setting foot in a building, and speak direct with a complainant on their phones. I want the men and women of this department to know that we won't spare any expense to increase their capabilities and ensure their safety. Our officers need to know that this department will work just as hard for them as they do for it. However, we can't do this alone. To accomplish this, we need to reaffirm the partnership our department has with the communities that we serve. We want to assure the people of our city that the NYPD is committed to restoring and strengthening the bonds with all New Yorkers. That's why, under Commissioner Bratton and Commissioner O'Neill's leadership, we implemented the Neighborhood Policing Plan. Since we implemented the plan last year, we've had great success and community support. In this model, neighborhood coordination officers are instrumental in identifying problems, working with the community to develop solutions to those problems, and connecting with neighborhood residents. As the communities get to know their local officers, we'll build up their trust in the department so we can continue forward with our public safety mission, continue forward together as one. Everything we do is interwoven as we form our partnership with the community. And all our advances, all of our great accomplishments cannot be achieved without the public support. We've made great strides the last few years, and I'm excited to build upon our accomplishments. Reducing crime, keeping the city safe from terrorism, supporting our officers, and forging and developing community relations is the key to the future success of New York City. On September 19th, 1796, exactly 220 years ago today, George Washington issued his farewell address in which he laid out what the new nation needed for its success. Stepping down from the presidency, one theme he stressed was national unity to the fledgling nation. He said, "Citizens, by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism." Those words are very meaningful to me. Very proud to be the first Hispanic chief of department. It is very meaningful to so many, but I'm most proud to be an American. As Washington stressed, we as Americans need to recognize the opportunities we have and honor the country that affords it to all of us, no matter who we are, no matter where we come from. That's part of the transcendent beauty of America. We're all on a level playing field, whether you're here by birth or choice, as Washington said. The opportunities for success are endless. Whether you're born in Brooklyn, as one former chief of department was, whether you're born in Dublin, as another former chief of department was, or whether you were born in Havana, your future, as I was, Your future is a blank canvas, and the brush is in your hands for you to paint. If you work hard, persevere, you can aim for the stars and reach the highest ones in the sky. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to Chief of Department Gomez. Now that you've sat down, would everyone please rise? Get a little exercise for you. Please rise for the benediction by Police Department Chief Chaplain Rabbi Dr. Alvin Cass.
Eternal God and sovereign, a former police commissioner by the name of Theodore Roosevelt once said, "It is fine to be alive when so many great things are happening." Indeed, it is fine to be alive when foremost among the great things that are happening are the appointments of James P. O'Neill as police commissioner and Carlos Gomez as chief of our department. They are consummate professionals. They personify the greatness that this department nurtures and nourishes. They regard police work not merely as a job, but as a sanctified calling. E pluribus unum is the great motto of the United States of America. It is also the motto of their lives. Their lives have been distinguished by a capacity to bring together people of every race, religion, color, and creed, because they see not only with their eyes, but also with their hearts. And they make the pains and pleasures of every member of the human species their own. The great Francis Bacon once said, "There is hope enough and to spare, not only to make a bold man act, but a sober-minded person believe." All of us here in the city of New York have every reason to believe that the combination of Mayor de Blasio, Police Commissioner O'Neill, Chief of the Department Gomez, and all the men and women of the New York City Police Department will go far towards enabling us to realize the vision of the ancient psalmist. "Behold how good and how pleasant it is when brothers and sisters dwell together in harmony, unity, and love." Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Cass. Ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude our ceremony, we ask you in joining us in the singing of God Bless America, which would be led by Police Officer William Beauvais.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
And thank you, Officer Bouvet. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Mayor de Blasio, Commissioner O'Neill, and Chief Gomez, we thank everyone for attending today's swearing-in ceremony. Have a pleasant day and a safe trip home. Thank you.